feel like we've done church already. Can we just take the offering and go have barbecue? Reminds me of a good, my minister hero friend of mine. He's a minister up in Santa Rosa, California. He would say, if you want a master course in practical metaphysics, get out of bed and walk. Right? Yeah. So, such a pleasure to be here. Last time we were together, we talked about taking down the no trespass sign off of our hearts because, unfortunately, when you block your heart, you do protect yourself from unloving sources and forces coming in, but the worst part is you block your love from getting out. And to not express love in our lives, to not feel love, to not give love is devastating to us as beings. So we spent a lot of time talking about that, but I have to tell you about Miss Mary and her kindergarten class. So my quote today, I actually have a quote I love today, which is Jesus saying, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." So I thought that Miss Mary's kindergarten class would be a good segue. So there were 15 5-year-olds drawing. It was a drawing class. So they're all at their desks and they're drawing. They have pencils and markers and crayons, and Miss Mary's walking around, checking out what everyone's doing. So she walks up to Susie, and Susie's so intense. She's drawing, and she's not even barely breathing. She's just drawing fervently. And Miss Mary goes, "Susie, what are you drawing?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm drawing God. I'm drawing the face of God." And Miss Mary goes, "Well, Susie, nobody's ever seen the face of God. Nobody knows what God looks like." And Susie looked up at her and said, knelt over, and she goes, "Well, they will in a minute." So it's interesting in this quote because really what Jesus is saying is that we have to kind of go back to a place where we are open and vulnerable and loving and expecting the world to be everything to us, right? We talked last week about the dirt and grit of the journey, right? The dirt and grit that is we pick up along the way. And the dirt and grit of this journey conceals our inner splendor. So when we come into rooms like this, when we are on the path of practical spirituality, you're not coming here to get God. For God's sakes, you can get God in the bathtub or watching TV, right? Because God's everywhere. But we do come here to get washed off, like a car wash. We're like a car wash for the spirit, right? Let's get the dirt and grit off of us so that we can be in life open and receptive and loving. Children are grit-free. Right, Jesse? Anybody who's got kids or ever had kids, children don't come into the world protecting themselves and figuring out how to, they don't trespass. That comes later. That's part of the dirt and grit. Now, the kingdom of heaven is not a piece of real estate that we get to go to if we're good when we die. And I know that's a radical idea, and if I'm offending anyone, I'm sorry, but we do believe that heaven is a state of consciousness. It's a way of feeling. It's a way of being. And heaven consciousness includes all the things we're looking for in life: peace, love, joy, friendship, community, connection, health, prosperity. I probably left some off. I think last time I looked, there was like 180 qualities of God that we are striving to experience and live. Hell is also a state of consciousness. So, and as you walk, I don't know about you, but if I walk through my life, there are days when I'm connected to people, and I've done my due diligence with my own spiritual practice, the sun is shining, and I feel good, right, in alignment with. And then there's the days where somebody annoyed you 2 days ago, and you've been ranting and raving and playing it over in your mind, in the shower, in your car, talking to yourself, that's hell. So we're striving, as we continue this uncrusting the broken heart and taking off the no trespassing sign, that how can we be in life open-hearted? Now, my title is God Works Through an Open Heart, but I discovered in doing my work this week that God works through an unopened heart as well. Because God is always God. There's never a day when God says, you know, I just don't feel like it today. Never. I'm going to sleep in. So sorry I missed those early morning prayers because I took a break. God doesn't do that. God is always being God, always announcing itself into pressing upon us into our conscious awareness. So I'm going to submit to you that the goodness of life, the manifestation of a life you will love, works better if you have an open heart. But if you have a closed heart, you know it shows up, right? It shows up as comfort when you're sad, you lose a loved one. It shows love shows up as a twist of fate, some good luck that happened. Now, with a closed heart, people aren't. It takes more to actually feel the goodness of life. But I do want to say that God works through all hearts. Just to get it straight. So, there's also no spot where God is not. So God is God all the time, and God is everywhere present. Now, when I say God, we're not talking, at least for me, maybe for some of you, we're not talking about a being that kind of looks like us but better somewhere else. We're talking about I almost like to call it a process with a personality. That there's this loving presence there's this loving presence that's everywhere. Now, you may say, Denise, how can you say that with such confidence since nobody's ever seen the face of God? And I just say, well, I just can. I just can. Why? Because everything important to be known is in your heart. The outer world, we think that it's not real if you can't see it. Or we think that everything on the internet is true. Because it's a written word. I mean, if it's out there, it must be the way, this must be real. Get real. You know, people who don't pay too much attention to all of this outer tend to be thought of as people who wear rose-colored glasses, right? Or haven't you read the news? But there's something in us that knows that it knows that it knows love. So I invite you, anytime I use the word God, or anytime anybody uses the word God and it tweaks you a little bit, partly we just need a new idea about what God is, but also you could just put in another word. You know, Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, used to call it the thing itself. The thing itself. And I loved that because I remember as being a 10-year-old, somewhere around the time John F. Kennedy was killed, I think. And I remember walking into a Catholic church and going, I don't know what it is, but there must be something. So when Ernest Holmes said the thing itself, I was like, that's it, the thing. The thing itself. So we want to explore this nature of what the divine is, what God is, what love is. Throughout the history of do you know how many prayers have been prayed to God? Do you know how many? 1,743,266. I don't know. She said it must have been true. I don't know. But let's do the billions and billions of prayers. And after all those billions and billions of prayers, there are many, many prayers that have not been answered according to the people who prayed them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like we pray, and sometimes we pray as if there may be a God who's unwilling to answer our prayers for whatever reason. So we have to, we let that one go. God is God all the time, and God is everywhere present. So if there must be something else we need to grasp or understand to see how I love the music, to see how this thing we're talking about works in our lives. Yes? Yes. So we can get a little bit of interesting feedback from the Wizard of Oz. So Dorothy, a lion, a tin man, and a scarecrow were all looking for answered prayer. The prayer for brains, the prayer for courage, the prayer for a heart, and the prayer to go home, yes? And they had it in their minds that the only way their prayers could be answered, which is to find the one who answered prayers, which was, of course, the Wizard of Oz. But they were a little disappointed initially because when they got there, the wizard, that thing that they believed would answer their prayers, was kind of a little bit, didn't meet their expectations. Because it turned out to be a little old man, a little old dwarfy man behind curtains, working all the controls of life. But what they did discover, each one of them discovered that the place where they were to look for their prayers to be answered was where? Inside. That the power was with us all along. Now, I am a lover of love, and I am a lover of God in many ways that I never thought possible because I was a little bit like you, not raised with religion. So it wasn't a natural fabric in my life, but I come to realize that this universe is so wondrous and so awe-inducing and so perfectly orchestrated. But above all else, I am a lover of and teacher of spiritual principles and practices and laws. I believe in them as much as I believe in gravity. And you believe in gravity. You know how much you believe in gravity? With all your heart and soul. How do I know you believe in gravity? You don't walk off a cliff, right? I would submit to you that the law of cause and effect, the law of reciprocity, the law of mental equivalence, the law of attraction, all of these principles are as real as gravity. And that we as a species, we as human beings, are moving into a space of being able to recognize them and to get in alignment with them. The same way, human beings didn't always know about electricity. We had to evolve into our understanding and application of electricity. And sometimes people used electricity to light the house, and sometimes they used electricity to burn down the house, right? So there are proper ways to use physical laws, and there are proper ways, proper is the wrong word, there are ways that work and ways that don't work. So these spiritual principles and laws, we can use them to create a world, create a life that we like, and also create a world that works for everyone. So we can kind of we're moving into the opportunity, I believe the possibility of making love more prevalent on our planet than fear. When we start here with our own hearts, take off the no trespassing sign, and open up to what is possible for us. Now, I think how we can manage this on a practical level is by monitoring expectations, your expectations, not mine, is to look and see whether you walk through your days or your moments with your families at work with positive expectation or negative expectation? When you call the IRS to complain about a tax bill, do you expect something good to happen or not? It's true. I picked a hard one. We can pick a much easier one. Do you expect good things to happen? Children do. Children expect good things to happen. Children don't. They don't expect to know. They don't expect to be afraid or to be rejected. They are just like, yeah, life is so good. Life is so good, right? I love life. That's how we're supposed to be. So it reminds me of Einstein. I'm going to pull Einstein in here because he said something that was attracted to me from the very beginning. I'm actually trying to hurry up a little bit because, ministers never know when to stop talking. So Einstein said, now keep in mind, positive expectancy versus negative expectancy. And it's really quite simple because if you can embrace that, then you have a way to manage yourself. When you're walking around going, well, this is never going to work, this plan is a terrible plan, it's just going to be awful. No, that's a negative expectancy. Why would you expect the world would not conspire for your greater good, ever? But let's see what Einstein says. He says, I think the most important question facing humanity is this. Is the universe a friendly place? He says this is the first and most basic question all people must answer for themselves. Is the universe friendly? He says if we decide that the universe is unfriendly, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries, our natural resources to achieve safety and power by creating bigger walls to keep out the unfriendliness and bigger weapons to destroy all that which is unfriendly. No different than the no trespassing sign, right? If you believe that you will get hurt, because truly, as a divine being, you are indestructible and unharmable. You are birthless and deathless and eternal for eternity. You are an isness that the dirt and grit can't permanently alter. It can just temporarily smear, right? So if we believe it to be unfriendly, we're going to protect ourselves. If we believe it to be friendly, then we're more open and receptive. He continues, if we decide that the universe is neither friendly nor unfriendly, then we will use our let me go find it, friendly, that God is essentially playing dice with the universe, then we are simply victims to the random toss of those dice, and our lives have no real meaning or purpose. In my mind, there is nothing chaotic in this universe, really, because embryos become babies, buds become flowers, the planets rotate, the tides come in, the tides come out. It is so intelligent and so organized and so on purpose that that I do not believe there is a roll of the dice at all. And Einstein concludes, but if we decide that the universe is a friendly place, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries, and our natural resources to create tools and models for understanding and living in that universe. So I think that's the invitation. The invitation is to be ye as little children, become as little children, once again, open, let the past be willing to see through new eyes, understanding that love is the way, and law gets us there, points us how to use our minds and our natural resources, our own way of being, in order to co-create in a collaborative relationship with Spirit that which we are wanting to build and to collaborate. Now, when we do this, when you have an open heart, an unblocked heart, when you see the Christ in each other, when you can look past the dirt and grit, because listen, we're the same. I have dirt and grit, you have dirt and grit. I've had 7 showers, you would have 5. Or maybe you've had 12, right? So you may be a little bit of a more clear expression, but we're the same. So if I can look into the Christ within you and not see the dirt and grit of your journey, not blame you for it, not condemn you for it, but to have compassion towards you for it, love is the only healing energy. Love is the only thing that will heal anything. Right? That protective, I won't let you in, I won't let me out, cannot lead us any place any different than where we are now. So Charles Fillmore, founder of Unity, said that life for each of us should be a journey and jubilation. That is, it should always be an expression of celebration, not a problem to be solved. A teacher of mine once said, we have to learn how not to bring our big problems to God, expecting them to be fixed, but to bring our big God to our problems. Because when you bring that kind of big love to our problems, the problems tend to disappear and dissolve. Thomas Carlyle had this in mind when he said, every day that is born into the world comes like a burst of music and rings the whole day through, and you make of it a dance, a dirge, or a life march, as you will. So I would submit to you that the world you inhabit is a world of your making. A world I inhabit is the world of my making. And we're talking now about, we're not saying that what we see in the world is not real or true in its kind of temporary way, but that what we bring to it alters it. What we bring to it alters our experience of it and ultimately alters it itself. So, another quote by Charles Fillmore, he says, the mind of the Spirit will guide you in perfect ways. The mind of the Spirit, which is your mind, God's mind, my mind, your mind, all in this field, will guide you in perfect ways, even in the minute details of your life, if you will let it do so. So the invitation this week, the work, what's the work? The work is to monitor, is to watch what you're thinking, because thought is so powerful. It's right there. When I say to you, oh, it's going to be such a good day, and you say, no, it's not. It's right there that reality gets created for me and for you. My good day and your not so good day. Right there in thought. So we get to master our living by mastering our attitudes and our thoughts, by pivoting in every moment into a higher vibration, a higher level of being and of living. Yes? Yes. So I say don't get caught in the grit. Don't let yourself get caught in the grit. Let yourself get caught in the good. It's a choice.